Hey folks, how are you? Happy Tuesday, November 26th. I am Josh Neighbors. This is the College Countdown here on the Rogue Media Networks. We're glad to have you alongside with us. Make sure you all follow us on Twitter at CC Podcast JN. I'm also at Josh Neighbors _. On the last show, we wondered, would a Power 4 head coach get the axe? Not would a job come open, but would a Power 4 head coach get the axe? Well, we've got the answer to that question in the form of North Carolina's Mack Brown, who has been let go by the university after he told us, hey, I'll be back. He's not going to be back. So we'll talk about all of the implications of that on today's show. Let us know who you all think should be the next hire, next head coach at North Carolina in the comments section. And also like the video, sub to the channel, and also follow us on Twitter at CC Podcast JN. I am at Josh Neighbors _. Those are the ways that you guys can reach me and reach the show. We appreciate you all joining us. All right. So yeah, big conversation last week was, hey, would a power position come open? The answer is yes. It's North Carolina. So you think about Mack Brown's tenure at North Carolina. It wasn't like it was bad, but North Carolina sees themselves in a certain light, I think you have to say. Right, firing a 73-year-old head coach who was a legend. He'd spent from 88 to 97 at UNC and had 3 10-win seasons. Right, really successful coach there. Obviously, he was one of 3 active national championship winning coaches. Now there are just 2 in the form of Dabo Swinney, and also out there still you've got Jimbo Fisher. No, Jimbo. 2 active coaches who are national champions right now. So that list has been dwindled down after Mack Brown being let go. But I mean, think about his record. He was 7-6, 8-4, 6-7, 9-5, 8-5, and 6-5. He had 4 bowl losses as well, back to back. So you think about North Carolina, and North Carolina is such an interesting program because first and foremost, Carolina is a basketball school. I work in Arkansas. I went to the University of Missouri, but I am from Virginia. My dad went to Wake Forest. He said that he would potentially help my brother and I out with tuition for any school in America besides one, North Carolina. So I'm intimately familiar with UNC. And the thing about UNC is that while they are a basketball school, unequivocally, their football program and their brand as a whole is incredibly strong. Whether it's that Jordan brand, whether it's, that kind of pretzel-looking NC that they've got. North Carolina is a strong program just because Carolina, Jordan brand. It's all there for them. And because it's all there for them, I think they feel like they can do better. Larry Fedora needed to be fired, and it's not like Mack Brown did a bad job. There's a whole lot of coaches who have done worse. But I think because of their financial situation, and I think because of how they see themselves, and look, you look at the ACC this year, yes, it's Miami towards the top. Miami has been down. Clemson is starting to go on the downward slide. Carolina sees a way in, right? SMU just came in, prestigious school. It's a private school. Obviously, University of North Carolina is not a private school, but it's a very prestigious public school, one of the best in the country as far as state schools goes. It's the flagship university of the state, right? So you see a big school with decent branding like SMU come along and do well with a financial investment they've given Rhett Lashley and the roster, and the fact that, hey, they're not taking any TV revenue for the first, 7 years in the ACC. They see a window, SMU has, and they're capitalizing. Well, I mean, look at the teams at the top of the ACC this year. Think about who has been towards the top. The ACC is not ripe for the taking, but there's a pretty easy way to be competitive. SMU is first at 7-0. Clemson and Miami 7-1, 6-1 respectively. Louisville is 5-3. Georgia Tech 5-3. Duke is 4-3, as is Syracuse. Then you've got some below 500 teams, including North Carolina, who is 3-4 so far in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They've got one more game this week. That's NC State at 2:30 this coming week. So they'll be going bowling no matter what. But there is an opportunity there. Now, a lot of schools in that conference could look and say there's an opportunity there, but UVA is a basketball school, sure, But I think there's more opportunity at a place like North Carolina. I heard Chip Patterson today on Cover 3, who is from the area, make the point, hey, the population of the state is growing. It is towards the south. So you've got some folks there. And I mean, it is Southern, at least in my estimation. It is Southern. So there are, it's got that sensibility about, hey, football matters down here. They're just better athletes in the South. Guys can come play for you, stay at home. But for Mack Brown, what did him in was decent recruiting, just didn't develop the classes. They need a coaching staff that they give the resource, and this is any school. They need a coaching staff that they can give the resources to, and that coach can execute, right? You need a combination of developing talent and also getting decent talent. Like that's the first part of the word talent. That phrase I just said was getting the talent, developing talent. You need talented players. And to compete in the ACC, we don't need top of the line team guys, but like most teams toward the top are top of the line, have more top of the line guys. Two of the top three are Clemson and Miami, who have top of the line talent. Last year's ACC champion was Florida State, top of the line talent, and at the top SMU right now, they definitely have the money for top or more towards the top of the line talent. So that's what I think is they need a coach who inspires investment. Now, I think we all have this circle. This brings up the conversation that we had last week. Hey, should Maryland, should Arkansas pull the trigger on a Mike Locksley, on a Sam Pittman? Should Kentucky pull the trigger on a Mark Stoops? Because you are the only power job in town. That being said, a Big Ten job with all the revenue they have, the permanent revenue, that's year by year by year, is a bit more safe than a Carolina where, hey, the money's not as good, but they do have a lot of money there still anyway. But there is a difference. We have to acknowledge that difference. That's why Maryland, in a similar situation in terms of where they are located in the country compared to a North Carolina, like that's why it makes sense. Maryland and Carolina shared a conference for a long time, and hey, those basketball games were fire because they were in the same conference. They had really good coaches. They're in the same area. They can recruit talent, all of those things. So that's why we talked about that conversation. Well, now Carolina's the first to the punch. So they've got their pick. The issue is there's not a whole lot of available guys. If you're looking at guys in the group of five, if you want the hot group of five name, okay, who are you going to get? Well, there's one person. There's one person only who everybody is talking about, and that's John Sumrall, right? John Sumrall makes the move from Troy, a very good Sun Belt program, and goes to Tulane, a very good AAC program, both by location, but also both by what the coach makes it into, and does a fantastic job, right? He's been doing a great job in year number one after Willie Fritz has left Tulane. They are 7-0. They are tied for first place. It looks like they are on their way to the champion. Actually, they are on their way to the AAC championship game. And look, the Tulane Green Wave have an outside shot at the college football playoff. They've ripped off right now. They started off 1-2. They have ripped off 8 straight victories, and they've done a lot of it convincingly, especially lately. 34-3 against Charlotte, 52-6 against Temple, 35-0 at Miami. They've got Memphis, who we'll get to here in a second. But John Sumrall has done a very good job, and I think it's what everybody looks at first. And when you fire somebody like a Mack Brown, he's 73 years old, it's a pretty natural transition to go to somebody who's younger. Well, John Sumrall, who's also from the South too, 42 years old, right? He is a 42-year-old coach, so he is the opposite of that. Now, he is a defensive guy, right? So, you can go young offense here. Defensive guy, which isn't always the sexiest in this day and age, but we've seen defensive coaches do a very good job and hire out very well. But this is a guy now as a head coach ever since 2022, and it's recent, I know, but 32-6. You might say, well, it's shortened, head coaching experience, but hey, App State's, Eli Drinkowitz was 1 year there, and I know he had 6-7 at Missouri, but now he's really done a good job. And hey, say what you want, was this season disappointing, whatever, injuries and whatnot. Still, 8-3 at Missouri after following up a double-digit win season, very, very good. So you don't necessarily have to be top of the line, but this guy's 3 years of coaching are about as good as anybody else's. 12-2, 11-2, and 9-2. He does not lose very often. He has got to be candidate number one because of his age, because of where he's at. Also, I would say another guy that should be talked about, speaking of the American Athletic Conference, is Ryan Silverfield from Memphis. I think that the resume that he's put together during his time there has been good. I know Mike Norvell, who's also in that conference, has been hired. He's a young guy, just 44 years old, but he has been 0-1 interim, 8-3, 6-6, 7-6, 10-3, 9-2. And so he's really hitting his stride right now. Memphis will play this game against Tulane and then a bowl game for a shot at back-to-back 10-win seasons. You have to respect that. He's won 3 straight bowl games after losing the Cotton Bowl, which is a game that he coached back in 2019, but that was a fill-in situation. So you have to give him a pass there. They also played Penn State. So I think Silverfield should be in this talks as well because of his age and because it's not too far away, right? Him being at Memphis, but obviously for Silverfield being a guy, from Florida and has had the experience there at Memphis, Virginia guy too, went to Hampton-Sydney, which a lot of buddies go there. Kind of in the right area, if you will. He's coached in Virginia, coached the NFL, kind of coached in Lions, Toledo, A-State, Arizona State, and then also Memphis. So he's got really, kind of all over the place coaching experience. And obviously too, he's a guy that you're going to find, can help you out on the offensive side of things. That's kind of more of his area. So I think those two guys are where I'd start from the head coaching standpoint, because picking up another coach out of a Power 5 school might be tough. Dave Clawson, maybe, but it's been down recently for them. Where are the other power coaches that you'd want and that you would take? That's the kind of question you want and that you would take. And there's not many out there right now. As you know, would you throw a ton of money at a Kenny Dillingham? Right? I don't know if he'd leave Arizona State to go to Carolina. There's not many open jobs at this point in time. Deion Sanders, let's do it. Let's do the Deion Sanders thing. Do you try to chuck a ton of money at Lance Leipold? Well, he's already at a similar school to where you are at right now, so I don't think that you would do something like that. And that's kind of why it feels like, hey, like maybe you could find a coach who wants a little bit of a change, but it does not feel like there's many power coaches lining up to leave their jobs to go elsewhere. So that kind of gets you to the coordinator ranks. Will Stein at Oregon has been a red hot coordinator. Could you pull a Ryan Grubb back, to college and get him back here? That's an interesting, question. Maybe you want to find out. Andy Kotelnicki at Penn State feels like he might be ripe for the taking. I mean, I think with the way their scheme has been and how really I love watching that offense go. I'm a Big 12 guy. I love the way to watch, watching that the KU offense operate. I think he is a guy that might deserve some consideration for a job if you're going to go the coordinator route. Do you want a veteran coordinator, a Chip Kelly, of that vein? Would he even leave to go somewhere else? A Jim Knowles, would he want to go somewhere else? Now, a bit of an older guy, defensive guy. So would you want to go towards that hire again? I don't think it's like few and far between, but there are some pretty clear cut options if you're going to go like the G5. And also I'll mention Monk in an Army, but he has not left yet. So it feels like Carolina, from a conceptual standpoint, it's nice to be the only open school, but you're gonna have to put some serious cash together. And look, because Mack Brown has not been awful, he's actually been pretty decent. I think Carolina's pretty serious about this. Firing a coach who has been winning often at a school that's a basketball first school signals that you want to be football serious. So now go out and make sure that you are football serious with the candidates that you are trying to get to your institution. Who should it be? Not 100% sure, but I think Carolina's in a pretty good spot. I want to know what you all think. Leave your comments. Let me know what you all think in the chat below. Also, let me know at CC Podcast JN, at Josh Neighbors _ as well. But we got it. A Power 4 job opening very unexpectedly.
We are Rogue Media Sports.